Otakuology Podcast with Otaku Mike Engine Graves.
Hey all, Jin here with another episode of the Otakuology Podcast where we talk about a lot of nerdy things. Manga, anime, TV shows, movies, comics, you name it, video games. We talk about everything and anything nerdy under the sun. So sit back, get you some popcorn or something, and stay tuned for a show. And for this episode of Over the Garden Wall, we are actually covering episode 3, Schooltown Follies. So the synopsis of this episode for Schooltown Follies is Wirt, Greg, and Beatrice get all mixed up into this musical antics of a schoolhouse of animals, a lorn teacher, a grouchy old benefactor, and escaped gorilla. And with this episode of the podcast, we are covering basically Wirt and Greg around this little schoolhouse for animals out in the middle of the woods, and just how everything plays out with that, because it is also a very weird episode with how everything fits together. If they're supposed to fit together like puzzle pieces, or if we're putting them together like pictures and other things from many different games put together, like newspaper clippings, basically. So at the beginning of this episode, we kind of open up to Greg having fun singing about this Adelaide person we learned about last episode, trying to find out where she is, because she is who is supposedly going to help them leave the unknown and everything like that, at least for Beatrice's sake. So we do get a part in here, though, where we see Wirt and them walk past this schoolhouse building. And Beatrice basically tells Wirt that he is a follower. There's nothing else that she can say about it. That's basically what he does. And to not listen really too much to people, because he does get this kind of whole thing with one of the teachers as it goes, where she wants him to sit down, and he's like, well, I listen to authority, I can't do anything about it, so I'm just going to go in and sit down, and gives Beatrice kind of that. And she keeps trying to get him to leave to go find Greg as well, and Greg, in kind of funny, perfect fashion, standing right outside Wirt's window and actually starts banging on it for a moment. Now, this is also another point where we get one of the fun things from one of the future episodes that we find out, where Greg is trying to play this game with people that he heard in an episode later on. It's actually more of our prequel episode, and what it actually means. At some point in a future episode, he hears two old cats as a game, and so he assumes that's what this is, and gets some of the other school animals that are there to help him basically find two old cats, and not any cats that are too old. So we do get kind of a weird, funny thing here. We do have where Beatrice keeps talking to Wirt, gets in trouble again, and so what does he do? Gets sent to basically the dunce box, which is really funny in this episode, because if you've ever seen Wirt's costume, he does have this weird big pointy hat, and that kind of just makes him look like a dunce sitting in this box. If you remember the Dunce Hut from any old episodes of cartoons and stuff. So with this part 2, with Wirt being inside and being in the Dunce box, we do have the teacher, who is also very funny when it comes down to this, is reciting the alphabets or the alphabet with things supposedly of why Jimmy Brown didn't return to her, and how everything is supposed to be with that and figure it out. So with this too, we also have kind of a weird trivia fact for all of you. So there are 3 animals basically on the outside when Greg is out there. That the joke is whenever you look at the animals inside, they are all animals that can be domesticated, all animals that we have as pets. All of the animals outside are actually animals that not a lot of them are actually known to be captive or anything, or actually used as pets often. I feel like some of them are to some extent as pets, but usually it's not your average pet. We do have where everybody gets told to come in, though. They're going to have dinner or lunch or whatever the heck it is, which is mashed potatoes. Greg gets the teacher kind of started and has this really cute song called Potatoes and Molasses. As for how it goes, it's for them to enjoy their potatoes and eat everything like that, which we do get some cool parts where after they get this, that all the animals are actually trying to sit and dance and eat together. So it is kind of a little bit of a cool thing. Now we also get a bunch of the animals in different places with this. That is something we don't exactly know why, but it happens. So at this part, we also have where the teacher's dad comes in, big fluffy overcoat, everything, wondering what's going on, why all the animals are basically jumping around and singing and playing games and stuff, with his daughter playing the piano. He's like, he wanted to teach all the animals how to read and write. Who knows? And we also get kind of this weird dimensional thing where the rooms inside of the schoolhouse and the bedroom and the kitchen and everything are a lot bigger than the little rinky-dink house on the outside. So who knows about that? We have where they followed the guy out in the woods, and he basically lays all the instruments out and is trying to sell them to keep the school open. And they are going to steal those at some point and kind of go about their time to raise money. The guy sits there and wakes up, and there's nothing around him. He doesn't know where these instruments are or anything else like that. We do find out they have a little bit of like a fair, though, for the musicians and everybody like that to enjoy. As well as we have this weird thing that it did appear earlier, I forgot to mention, but the gorilla, really big, huge gorilla, a lot of stuff happens until finally his head gets knocked off. And we find out that this gorilla is actually Jimmy Brown. Jimmy accidentally got stuck in the suit while trying to juggle and everything. And it's kind of a big thing, which that's one of the other things that I like in the first episode with the little opal things, is that we do see like a forest scene with the gorilla there. So I wonder if something happened we just didn't see maybe in that instance of watching it, or if there's something that was still yet to come. So we did get that, though, and found out that Jimmy Brown is the gorilla. He actually got knocked over or something, and the head of the gorilla fell off. And so now he's back, and he lets us know what happened. He basically got stuck. Everybody was scared of him because it's a big gorilla suit and didn't know how to get him out of it. So he had to wander around until somebody basically did something stupid to knock the head of the suit off so he could let them know. And all is forgiven with him because they asked, what were you trying to do? And he goes, I was trying to save money for a wedding ring for the teacher whom he loves. So we do get kind of a lot of weird nitty-gritty attachment stuff there. So another thing, and you'll probably hear me talk about this a little later on, one thing that I really do like is how everything is set up in this. As I said, we do get a sliver of things that happened through the opals before, with basically Jimmy Brown working in the circus, and also having just kind of a lot of other stuff with the world building, and how these animals and stuff are here, which up until now, including now, we still haven't seen the beast, but it also seems like there's not very many human type figures. So I really wonder how part of the other characters played into this, because we don't exactly have very much that could do anything when it comes down to basically the whole entire show. So out of this entire episode, just covering the ending and everything, I really feel like probably my favorite part of this was actually getting to kind of see the transition between everybody and how all of it is just going to work, especially with the whole thing between Beatrice and Wirt. Like, you're not supposed to down your friends, you support them, and so that's kind of what we see here with Beatrice and Wirt, basically kind of her throwing him under the bus and asking him what he's really doing. Now, the cool thing about this episode that I really like, and I think I kind of already said it, was the fact of it's got one of the best songs, I feel like, with Potatoes and Molasses. It's really funny seeing people have something like that, or a tribute for Over the Garden Wall that involves that. And just being really joyous, kind of the whole thing with Jimmy Brown trying to work and save up for the wedding ring. And now they're saving up, obviously, with the animals doing concerts and stuff now. But it's just really hard in the aspect of they're all trying to accomplish things here in this world, and it just kind of ends or comes to a head in a different way than what we would like or what we would know, per se. And I feel like this is a good episode that teaches things, more so like stick up for yourself whenever things happen. Because, you could be passive aggressive and then just at some point get yourself more into trouble. As we saw this, all of this could have practically been avoided if Wirt had most likely said something to Beatrice. But the thing is that this one, the producer wanted to kind of teach us a story with that, I believe, on that, you do this thing, and if on the other side it's not equal or satisfying, then it doesn't exactly work out. And so we do get to hear Wirt kind of give Beatrice some things that happen when it comes down to trying to know how to get out of there, as well as just trying to find Adelaide and actually find Greg and everything else. So we do have a lot of other stuff with that, per se. Now, I really like this episode, per se, just because of, again, how everything is laid out. I think it's very funny that you have the guy kind of sleeping out under the stars with his big jacket, the investor guy, and actually putting up the thing on the trumpet, the slider part and sticking it up and it's staying there, for him to put his coat on to sleep underneath it like an igloo. That is probably one of my favorite things in this episode. Besides having that potatoes and molasses song, I think that's one of the ones that actually a lot of people listened to and probably got into the show with that. Even though it is so stupid, it is a very good one. One which I feel like all of you should listen to at some point in your life. And really just let us know about the rest of it. So, but anyway, as always, guys, we're on all major podcast platforms. But as always, guys, thanks for listening to another episode of the Otakuology podcast, especially this one for y'all for Halloween, which is Over the Garden Wall. A Schooltown Follies, episode 3. And like I said, as always, thanks for listening to the podcast. Support us in any way that you can. It's always good to hear that or see that people enjoy and like the podcast and everything. So hopefully you guys will stick around and listen to the rest of these and stick around and listen to some of the other shows that are out there that we offer and have. They're all amazing and spectacular, honestly. But like I said, thanks for listening. We'll catch you later. As always, like we like to say here on the Otakuology podcast, see you next Tuesday. Bye.